If you step outside in this city without preparation, your skin can freeze in under 1 minute. Not hours, not even 10 minutes, 60 seconds. Your breath turns into ice. Your eyelashes freeze shut. Your lungs feel like they're burning. And panic makes it worse. This is Yakutsk, Siberia, the coldest city on Earth. A place where one mistake can end your life. And yet, over 300,000 people live here. So how do humans survive where humans were never meant to live? Stay with me, because this city doesn't just test your body, it tests your will to live.
Yakutsk is not just cold, it is biologically hostile. When temperatures drop below -40 degrees Celsius, the human body enters a danger zone. Below -50 degrees Celsius, survival becomes a calculated risk. At -71 degrees Celsius, the air itself becomes a weapon. The first thing you lose in Yakutsk is comfort. The second thing you lose is sensation. Eyelashes freeze together. Eyebrows turn white with ice. Skin goes numb in seconds. This numbness feels harmless. It is not. This is how frostbite begins. Blood vessels constrict to protect your core organs. Hands, feet, face, ears. They are sacrificed first. At -50 degrees Celsius, exposed skin can freeze in less than 1 minute. The most dangerous part? You don't feel pain right away. Nerves shut down quickly. Damage spreads silently. By the time pain returns, your tissue may already be dead. Every winter, hospitals in Yakutsk treat severe frostbite cases. Fingers, toes, noses, ears. Sometimes amputations are the only option. And most cases begin with one sentence: "I was only outside for a minute." In Yakutsk, clothing is not fashion, it is armor. People wear 5 to 7 layers. Thermal base layers, wool insulation, fur-lined outer coats designed to block wind completely. Wind here does not chill, it cuts. Wind changes everything. At -40 degrees Celsius, strong wind can make conditions feel like -60 degrees Celsius. This is when hypothermia begins to hunt. When your core temperature drops below 35 degrees Celsius, hypothermia starts. Shivering becomes uncontrollable. Judgment fails. Speech slurs. Below 32 degrees Celsius, shivering may stop. That is not recovery. That is collapse. At night, Yakutsk becomes even more dangerous. Temperatures drop further. Visibility decreases. Help is farther away. Locals have a rule: never walk alone at night in extreme cold. Yakutsk does not kill instantly. It waits. It waits for carelessness. It waits for fatigue. It waits for overconfidence. And when it strikes, there are no second chances. This is only the first challenge. Breathing is dangerous here, but survival requires far more than warm lungs. Because next, we face a problem even machines struggle to survive.
In most cities, a parked car is silent.
In Yakutsk, silence means death.
Here, if your engine stops running for too long, your car doesn't just fail, it dies. When temperatures drop below -40 degrees Celsius, oil thickens like glue. Fuel lines freeze. Rubber seals harden and crack. Metal contracts. At -50 degrees Celsius, restarting an engine becomes a gamble. At -60 degrees, it becomes nearly impossible. So people do something that sounds insane to outsiders. They never turn their cars off. Cars in Yakutsk can run 24 hours a day, sometimes for days. Engines hum softly through the night, burning fuel not to move, but to stay alive. Turning the engine off overnight could mean waking up to a frozen block of metal that will never start again. At extreme cold, engine oil becomes so thick it cannot circulate. Without circulation, metal grinds against metal. One cold start can destroy an engine permanently. That's why locals say a cold start is a death sentence. Mechanics in Yakutsk are not just technicians, they are survival experts. They modify vehicles with special low-temperature oil, battery insulation systems, engine heaters, fuel additives designed for Arctic conditions. Even then, failure is always a possibility. Batteries are especially vulnerable. At negative 40 degrees Celsius, a battery can lose over 60% of its power. At negative 50 degrees, many batteries stop working entirely. Some residents remove their batteries at night and take them inside their homes to keep them warm. In Yakutsk, people don't forget their keys, they forget their batteries. Look closely at Yakutsk parking areas and you'll see something strange. Extension cords everywhere. Cars are plugged into electrical outlets to power engine block heaters, devices that keep the engine warm enough to restart. Without them, many cars wouldn't survive winter. Fuel itself becomes a problem. Diesel can freeze into a gel at extreme temperatures. Gasoline thickens. Fuel pumps struggle. Special winter fuel blends are required, and even those have limits. When fuel fails, the engine follows. Every winter, Yakutsk claims victims, not people, cars. Frozen vehicles abandoned on the streets, engines ruined beyond repair. They remain there for weeks, sometimes months, silent warnings to everyone else. They say, the cold won. Driving itself becomes dangerous. Power steering stiffens, brakes respond slowly. Visibility drops as moisture freezes on the windshield. A breakdown here isn't an inconvenience, it's a life-threatening emergency. If your car stops working in extreme cold, time is against you. Within minutes, body heat drops, fingers lose dexterity, phones lose battery. Without immediate help, survival becomes uncertain. This is why locals never drive without emergency supplies, extra clothing, blankets, fuel, flares. In Yakutsk, a car is not transportation, it is a lifeboat. At night, the city hums softly, thousands of engines running, thousands of people refusing to let the cold win. To outsiders, it looks wasteful. To locals, it's survival. Yakutsk teaches a brutal lesson. Technology does not conquer nature, it negotiates with it. And the cold always demands respect. Cars here don't just move people, they keep them alive. And if machines struggle this much to survive, imagine what it takes to raise a child here.
In most parts of the world, parents worry about traffic, or bullying, or bad grades. In Yakutsk, parents worry about something else entirely. Will my child survive the walk to school today? Here, childhood begins with a lesson most adults never learn. Cold is not uncomfortable. Cold is dangerous. And children in Yakutsk learn this before they learn multiplication. Schools in Yakutsk don't close for snow. They don't close for wind. They close for temperature. At around minus 45 degrees Celsius, younger children are allowed to stay home. At minus 50 degrees Celsius, older students finally get a break. Below that, the city admits defeat. On those days, playgrounds stand frozen and empty. Metal swings are untouchable. Slides are lethal. Even falling in the snow can expose skin instantly. This is not winter fun. This is winter survival. A school morning in Yakutsk begins like a ritual. Thermal underwear, wool layers, padded pants, fur-lined boots, thick gloves, face mask, scarf, hat. Parents check every inch of exposed skin. One mistake, one gap can cause frostbite. Children are taught strict rules. Never remove gloves, never touch metal, never stop moving outside, never play in extreme cold. There is no room for curiosity when the cold is watching. Most children walk to school in groups, not for friendship, for safety. If someone falls, others can help. If someone feels dizzy, others can alert adults. In Yakutsk, community is protection. School buses run constantly. Engines never turn off. Doors open for seconds, not minutes. Children rush inside, where warmth feels almost unreal. Fingers tingle painfully as blood returns. Some children cry, others stay silent. Both reactions are normal. Inside the classroom, jackets come off slowly. Steam rises from clothing. Ice melts onto the floor. Faces turn red as circulation returns. This transition from survival to safety happens every morning, and no one takes it for granted. Teachers understand the pressure these children live under. Lessons are slower on extreme cold days. Focus takes time. Hands ache. But education continues, because in Yakutsk, resilience is not optional. Hot meals are essential. Soup, tea, warm bread. Food here is not just nutrition, it is heat. It restores energy lost to the cold outside. Children grow up understanding risk. They learn responsibility early. They learn limits. They learn respect for nature. Fear does not dominate them. Awareness does. When school ends, parents wait. No delays, no wandering. Every minute outside matters. Children are counted. Hands are checked. Faces are inspected for frostbite signs. Love here looks like vigilance. And yet, children still laugh. They still dream. They still imagine futures beyond the cold. Yakutsk does not steal childhood, it forges it. As darkness returns and temperatures fall again, the city prepares for another night, another test, another challenge. And while children sleep safely indoors, there is one thing even adults fear thinking about, because in Yakutsk, death does not rest underground. Next, we confront a reality so extreme that even burial becomes impossible. Death is universal. Burial is normal. But in Yakutsk, even death follows different rules. Here, the ground does not open for the dead. Yakutsk is built on permafrost, ground that has remained frozen solid for tens of thousands of years. In winter, this ground becomes harder than concrete, sometimes harder than steel tools. You don't dig it, you fight it, and sometimes you lose. In most cities, a grave takes hours to prepare. In Yakutsk, it can take days. Special machinery is used to break the frozen earth. Fire is sometimes applied to thaw the top layers. Even then, progress is painfully slow. The ground resists. For centuries, people here have struggled with the same problem. The cold preserves everything: bodies, bones, time itself. Because burial is so difficult, the dead are often placed in temporary cold storage facilities. These buildings are naturally refrigerated by the environment itself. No machines required. The cold does all the work. Inside, bodies are stored carefully, respectfully. The cold prevents decay almost entirely. In Yakutsk, decomposition is so slow that time feels suspended. Death waits. Funerals here are brief, not because of a lack of love, but because exposure is dangerous. Mourners cannot stand outside for long. Tears freeze on faces. Hands lose feeling. Grief must be fast. In warmer places, grief is slow. In Yakutsk, grief races against frostbite. When burial finally happens, it is mechanical. Drills carve into the earth, ice shatters, the ground screams. This is not symbolic, it is physical resistance. Graves are shallow compared to other regions. Digging deeper risks destabilizing the permafrost, which can damage surrounding land and structures. Even in death, balance must be maintained. Permafrost shapes everything in Yakutsk. Buildings are raised on stilts, pipes run above ground, and burials are carefully planned. If the frozen ground melts, the city collapses. Sometimes the permafrost gives things back. Perfectly preserved animals, ancient remains, creatures frozen for thousands of years. In Yakutsk, the dead do not disappear, they wait. This preservation fascinates scientists, but for locals, it is a reminder: nothing truly leaves this land. Ask residents about death here, and they speak quietly. Not with fear, with respect. They know the cold does not forget. Yakutsk teaches a final lesson. You do not conquer nature in life, and you do not escape it in death. Breathing is dangerous. Machines struggle. Children adapt. Even the dead must wait. So the final question remains.
By now, you've seen the cold. You've felt the danger. You've watched people adapt. But here's the real question. Would you survive here? Not for a day, not for a week, one full winter. Survival in Yakutsk is not about strength. It's about discipline. Because the cold does not attack suddenly. It waits. It waits for laziness, for shortcuts, for arrogance. And when it finds them, it ends the story quietly. The first thing winter takes from you is time. Simple tasks stretch longer. Walking becomes deliberate. Every movement is calculated. You don't rush in Yakutsk. Rushing leads to mistakes. Mistakes lead to exposure. Indoors, life shrinks. Windows are sealed. Doors are reinforced. Heat becomes precious. You learn to live in fewer rooms, to conserve warmth, to stay still. Comfort becomes survival strategy. Outside, the cold presses inward. It tests walls, it tests pipes, it tests patience. In Yakutsk, plumbing runs above ground. If pipes freeze, they burst, and water becomes a luxury. Families grow closer in winter, not romantically, practically, because isolation is dangerous. Mental health matters here. Loneliness amplifies cold. Humans survive better together. Technology betrays you first. Phones die in minutes. Batteries collapse. GPS becomes unreliable. You learn to memorize routes, to trust landmarks, to never depend on screens. Modern life feels fragile here. Storms arrive without mercy. Visibility disappears. Sound is swallowed. Direction loses meaning. Getting lost a few blocks from home can become fatal. This is why locals never walk without purpose. Everyone carries emergency supplies, not just in case, but because. A delayed bus, a stalled car, a sudden blackout, each has ended lives before. Preparedness is respect. The cold drains energy, not dramatically, gradually. Fatigue settles in. Motivation drops. Decisions become harder. Winter here is a psychological siege. At a certain point, the numbers stop meaning anything. -40 degrees Celsius, -50 degrees Celsius. Cold becomes absolute. Your body doesn't care about statistics. It reacts instinctively. And yet, people endure. Not because they love suffering, but because adaptation becomes normal. What once felt impossible becomes routine. Humans are remarkably flexible. Life continues. Birthdays happen. Homework gets done. Dreams form. Yakutsk doesn't destroy humanity. It distills it.
Spring eventually comes, slowly, reluctantly. Ice releases its grip. The city exhales. Survivors step outside and feel warmth again, and they remember what they endured. You've seen how machines struggle, how children adapt, how the dead must wait. Yakutsk demands humility. So ask yourself honestly, could you wake up every day knowing one mistake could cost you fingers, or breath, or life? Could you respect the cold enough to survive it? This city can kill you in minutes, but if you learn its rules, it will let you live.